Tobias Langenstein was born on February 18, 1997 in Lower Saxony, Germany, to parents Uwe and Beatrix Langenstein. Tobias also had an older sister named Alexandra. The Langenstein family enjoyed travelling frequently, visiting the likes of Berlin, Hamburg and Rügen. The Langensteins initially lived in the Freiburg countryside before moving to the village of Bodenfelde in the 1990s. Tobias was a petite 13-year-old boy who loved athletics and rollerblading. He had a good group of friends and he was very kind to those around him. According to his father Uwe, Tobias always made sure to be friendly with those at his school who were lonely or troubled. He never liked to see people upset. On Saturday, the 20th of November 2010, the Langenstein family, Uwe, Beatrix, Alexandra and Tobias, spent the day with a friend in Uslar, a town located near to where the family lived in Bodenfelde. Following the friend's visit, 13-year-old Tobias walked with them back to the train station to see them off, before returning home at around 8 p.m, leaving the station on his rollerblades. However, this was the last time that Tobias was seen alive. As time passed and darkness began to fall, the Langenstein family became increasingly concerned when Tobias failed to return home that night. Beatrix became frantic and contacted the police immediately, due to the fact that it was extremely out of character for her son to do so. He was very responsible for his age and would never have gone off on his own without telling his parents. As a result, Beatrix filed a missing persons report and went out searching for her son, alongside family and friends, scouring the woods, paths and waterways in and around the village of Bodenfelde in an effort to locate her missing son. She searched late into the night and into the following morning of November 21st, desperate to find the 13-year-old schoolboy. However, her worst nightmare was soon realised when Beatrix reached a section of long grass in a forest grove in Mühlenbach, located near to the village cemetery. Hidden in the overgrowth beside a stream was a body, half naked and smeared with blood and mud, stab wounds on its torso. It was the body of missing 13-year-old Tobias Langenstein, surrounded by a pool of his own blood. Beatrix was understandably distraught upon discovering her son's body. She wrapped her coat around her son's corpse and called the police, yelling down the phone to the dispatcher, quote, "Come quickly, my boy is dead." Police arrived promptly on the scene to investigate, and near to the boy's body they found a discarded mobile phone and Tobias's rollerblades in the stream. The phone, however, did not belong to Tobias. A few metres away from Tobias's body, hidden in the long grass, police shockingly found a second mutilated body belonging to a 14-year-old girl who had also been reported as missing by her family 5 days prior. She had been lying dead in the woods for approximately 3 days. Both teens had been strangled and violently stabbed. The 14-year-old girl was identified as Nina Beata, who was born on August 18, 1996. Although she didn't know Tobias directly, the two attended the same comprehensive school in Bodenfelde, Heinrich Roth. Nina's life was slightly more unstable in comparison to Tobias. Her family often had arguments, and when she disappeared following another argument on November 16th of 2010, 4 days prior to Tobias's disappearance, police didn't appear to be too concerned. Nina ran away often and was seen out in town with friends or visiting her horse often, and they presumed that because she was quite troubled that she had gone out for a few hours to clear her head and that she would soon return home. But this was not the case on this occasion. In reality, Nina was lying dead in the woods. On the day she is said to have passed away, 2 9-year-olds played nearby. However, during this, they actually discovered the 14-year-old's body next to a pool of blood, stab wounds inflicted on her. The 2 children ran away from the scene, but were too frightened to tell anyone about their horrific discovery. One of the children eventually told their parents, but they believed that their child was mistaken and that they must have found some sort of garbage, a scarecrow or a mannequin of some kind. Just to note, at this time, the police didn't make Nina's disappearance known in the area at the time. Therefore, if a child had found a body, it would have been taken far more seriously. The child's parents didn't think for a moment that their child had actually stumbled upon a corpse. The child in question reportedly had a rather vivid imagination, which is why their claims were not taken seriously. However, if their claims had been taken seriously, there is no doubt that 13-year-old Tobias Langenstein would have lived. If the grim discovery had been reported to the police and they recovered Nina's body, locals would have been alerted of a killer on the loose, and Tobias would no doubt have been protected. He would never have fallen victim to such a brutal crime a mere 48 hours later. Following the discovery of both bodies, 2 locals came forward to the authorities and told them that they had heard loud cries for help nearby at approximately 8:15 p.m. on November 20th. Neither resident thought this was unusual, as many children would come and play in the area and make a lot of noise. Police continued to follow up on various tips and leads, and their inquiries eventually led them to the home of a man known as Jan O. Jan was unemployed and a, quote, proud job seeker who had a violent past and had previously been convicted 9 times for theft, assault, burglary and drug dealing, not to mention arson attacks. The mobile phone found at the crime scene was traced back to Jan, and rather shockingly, it also came to light that the 26-year-old had posted rather disturbing status to Facebook the day following Nina's murder, which seemed to confirm his guilt. He wrote, "Slaughtered a girl yesterday, one every day until they catch me." As a result of the evidence mounting against him, including a false alibi, Jan O was apprehended by German authorities the day after Tobias's body was found, and following questioning, Jan openly admitted to murdering both Tobias and Nina. The trial of Jan O commenced on April 13, 2011, at the Göttingen District Court. Nina's mother and her brother attended the trial for the duration, but understandably Tobias's family did not. Due to the severity of the crimes committed, they were advised against attending. Locals left candles and pictures of both teens on the steps of the courthouse as the trial commenced. It was revealed early on that Jan O had a difficult childhood, constantly being abused and moving from place to place. He also made trouble at school and was constantly expelled. Even as a child, he displayed violent tendencies, one incident in which he kicked his own grandmother. His relationship with his father was also very difficult from the start. He allegedly wanted Jan terminated. It appeared that Jan would cause trouble to simply get his father's attention. Jan would steal bikes as instigated by his father so that he could sell them on and make a profit. More specific details of Jan's life is relatively unknown. His full 19-page confession was read out to the court and no detail was left out. He described what happened in the events leading up to, during, and following the teen's murders, confessing to have been under the influence of alcohol at the time and openly admitting looking for an underage girl to sexually assault. He gave a very precise timeline, including exact times and locations where he met people, and even including where he drank another beer. He even gave details regarding which hand he covered his victims' mouths with, and what signs of life they made as they died. Jan admitted that on November 15th he travelled to Bodenfelde from Uslar to meet a colleague. However, they reportedly never showed. Whilst at the train station, he engaged in conversation with two young teen girls, thinking to himself, quote, "What kind of cute mice are they?" as he put his arm around one of them. The two's train arrived and the girls left, visibly relieved to get away. He also approached another young girl at some point during that day, but she fled before Jan could take any further action. After failing to secure a victim, Jan wandered along the outskirts of Bodenfelde, and this was when he intercepted 14-year-old Nina, less than 100 metres away from her home, asking her where a nearby path would lead him. Jan forced her into the nearby woods before choking, assaulting, and stabbing her to death with a knife, and some broken glass from a beer bottle he smashed over her head. This rage was sparked following Nina's rejection of Jan's sexual advances. As Nina bled out, Jan said, quote, "Be quiet and go, my pretty one." Nina begged Jan to let her go, crying as he touched her, but he continued strangling her until she was dead. Jan then, shockingly, bit Nina in the neck post-mortem, ripping out chunks of flesh before eating them and drinking the blood coming out of her nose. Jan later stated his cannibalistic actions were for sexual gratification. He claimed to have licked Nina's body and bitten parts of her before smearing her blood on his stomach and drinking the blood. The thought of cannibalism excited him more than his initial plan, which was to rape Nina. Following the change of plans, when Jan abandoned Nina's body, he wanted it to appear like a sexually motivated crime in order to throw off the police. Jan also admitted to filming himself on his phone, returning to the crime scene on November 17th, where he further mutilated the 14-year-old Tobias's body for sexual gratification. Jan O. spotted 13-year-old Tobias Langenstein near the scene on November 20th, after he visited the site once again to pleasure himself. Fearful that Nina's body would be found, but also believing that Tobias was a girl because of his longer hair and slim build, Jan went to Tobias to ask for directions before grabbing him, calling the boy Little One. Jan demanded that the 13-year-old undress. However, at this point, Tobias told Jan that he was a boy. Jan believed he was lying, pretending to be a boy as to avoid being raped. He ripped Tobias's clothes off before choking him and stabbing him to death, smearing the boy's blood all over his body. He lay on top of Tobias's corpse, though no sexual assault occurred, following Jan's realization that Tobias had been telling the truth. He was indeed male. Police presented further evidence to the court regarding the accused's computer, which contained mainly pictures of naked underage girls. It was also revealed that earlier on the Saturday Tobias was killed, Jan had approached another girl in a parking lot with a beer in hand. He was wearing a black bomber jacket, trousers and shoes. The two chatted and eventually Jan asked the girl for her phone number. She understandably got scared and reported the incident to the police, giving them a detailed description of the man in question. It is believed that the girl was intended to be a possible third victim in this case, but she managed to get away unscathed. Police found the same clothing the strange man was wearing in the parking lot at the home of Jan O, which all contained specks of blood and mud. There was no doubt that the Bodenfelde murderer had been found. Jan O's crimes were described by the lawyer representing Nina's family as extraordinarily brutal. Following new revelations made following Jan's arrest, a huge wave of anger ripped through the Bodenfelde community. Not just an anger felt towards the perpetrator and the sickening crimes he had committed, but an anger towards the judiciary. Family and friends of the victims struggled to understand how Jan O was allowed his freedom following his previous criminal record, which subsequently came to light during the trial. He was convicted in 2003 for a string of offences and in 2009 was sent to a therapy facility for alcohol and drug addiction. However, he relapsed in May of 2010. As a result, he was released from the facility. Just 1 month prior to the double Bodenfelde murders, in October of 2010, Jan set fire to a building in the village, which burned to the ground. And even though he was arrested, prosecutors did not apply for a warrant. 3 weeks later, Jan would go on to murder Nina and Tobias. The prosecution believed Jan O to be suffering from a serious personality disorder, but wanted to know what extent the accused could control himself. For other prosecutors, however, it was clear that Jan O committed these acts purely for sexual gratification. He was still a murderer, regardless of whether he was declared sane or not. Following an extensive trial on June 27, 2011, Jan O was sentenced to life imprisonment for the murders of Tobias Langenstein and Nina Beata. The judge also ordered for Jan O to receive psychiatric treatment during his incarceration and preventative detention due to serious personality disorder, which had a significant risk of relapse. This means that Jan may only ever be released if he is declared sane. However, this seems extremely unlikely. Jan O expressed his regret for his crimes and apologised to Tobias and Nina's families before he was escorted back to prison. The residents of Bodenfelde came together to attend memorials and the funerals of Tobias Langenstein and Nina Beata at Christ Church, supporting the families through their grief in late November. The town still grieves for Tobias and Nina, but their anger towards the public prosecutor's office still remains. If Jan O had been apprehended following the October arson attack, Nina and Tobias would still be alive today. It is a mistake which cost 2 young teenagers their lives. Beatrix Langenstein visits the grave of her son every day, writing Tobias's name in the earth using shells and sometimes leaving packs of her son's favourite sweets in front of his headstone. In an article from Focus, Beatrix expressed her grief over her son's death. The grief is as great as it was at the beginning. 13 years on, and the Langenstein and Beata families still struggle to come to terms with their loss. Tobias and Nina were just at the beginning of their lives with such promise. In an instant, their lives were cruelly stolen away, though justice was finally served. For those who loved them, Tobias and Nina have never been forgotten and will remain in their hearts and memories forever.